This is this means you can talk if you want to talk.
Yeah, I know they limit your freedom of speech that way too.
Well, this freedom of speech, but I think freedom of concept.
Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the public meeting?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor our servicemen and women? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Anthony Pisano, Garcia.
Present.
Melissa Torregrossa, Board of Education Trustee. Present. Jacqueline DiLorenzo, Board of Education Trustee.
Present.
Jacqueline Napolitano Furno, Trustee.
Present.
Marisol Mallon, President.
Present.
Dr. Joseph Centimore, Superintendent.
Present.
April Iannatelli, Vice President.
Present.
Reza Koliafar, Assistant Superintendent of Admin and Personnel.
Cheerio.
Thank
Christina
you.
Poppy, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
Present.
Robert Hauser, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy. Can I please have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the March 11, the March 25, the March 31st, and the April 1st, 2025 meetings?
Motion. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We now have a budget presentation, proposed revenues and expenditures budget, draft number 3. Mr. Hauser, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I left some copies on the stage here if anyone would like to take a copy, especially if it's tough to see the screen so far away. Okay, so tonight's presentation will be on the third draft of the proposed revenues and the proposed expenditures. Next slide. Okay. So the second slide here is the calendar. I've put this calendar up every presentation that we've had so far. I highlighted in yellow where we are right now. The second line that I highlighted, we were hoping to have a state legislative decision as to what our final state aid is going to be. However, we didn't receive that yet. So as I understand, the state budget was supposed to be approved April 1st. Here we are a week later. The state doesn't have a budget, and we don't have a final state aid number to guide us. And the next board meeting on April 22nd is when the board is supposed to actually adopt the budget. So we're in a very unique situation right now with days to spare to try to get a final state aid number.
Mr. Hauser, do you have any idea when that number will be coming down?
Right now, it's all speculation. It depends either who you speak to or what you read, but I believe the governor, this will be right now, this is the fourth time that the budget has not been on time with the current governor. So one time, I believe it went to May 23rd. So it's possible we could hear something this Friday, which is when the state legislature breaks for Passover and the Easter holiday. But if not, it could go longer than that. So, okay. All right. So like I said, here we are, April 8th, next board meeting on the 22nd. We hope to have the final budget. And then as we get into May, we'll have the actual budget hearing. And then on May 20th, we'll have the budget vote as well as the school board election. Okay, this slide here is the summary of the expenditures up at the top. So how much that we are proposing to spend next year. And then many of the lines below that are the revenues that are proposed to actually support the budget. So right now, starting up at the top, the proposed budget of $228,779,052 represents a 2.79 increase in expenditures. If we work our way down, like I said, the proposed revenues, and there's many different lines of revenues, mainly coming from reserves to support the budget. The line that I highlighted in blue, which is the amount to be raised by taxes from the residents of the school district, could also be commercial businesses. That's proposed to increase by 1.34%, which in the case of our school district is actually the actual maximum amount for the tax cap. Right now, the line that's highlighted in yellow, that $354,310 number, that represents the difference between our proposed expenditures and the proposed revenues that are coming in. So we have, I'll say, a shortfall right now of about $354,000. When we speak about state aid, and in particular, when we speak about foundation aid, which is one component of the state aid, a 1% increase in the foundation aid would be about $360,000. So higher mathematics, if we're short 354 and we could get that 1% from the state legislature, we would come in with a nice smooth landing to balance the budget.
Mr. Hauser, if I could interject real quick. Both houses in Albany, the Assembly and the Senate, they each have proposed either a 2.9 or a full 3% in totality of a minimum foundation aid increase. So, that number is not just pulled, out of the blue. There's a great deal of advocacy from both of the houses to see that districts such as Connecticut get that additional 1%.
Thank you, Dr. Senamore. So I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, but I do believe it's an important snapshot of where we are right now. And a community resident just highlighted another very important line right here. And it's close to the bottom. It's called estimated assessed valuation. And if you follow that line all the way over to the green, you'll see 689,114,934. So that's the total assessed valuation in the school district. I'll say as of last October, okay, when this town actually finalizes the assessment roll. So what we're doing here is we're basing the tax levy increase for the homeowners, for the businesses. We're basing that on, I'll call it an old number, a number from October, because we just don't know what the total assessed value is going to be till the town actually closes out the assessment roll this coming October. So it's a bit of a guess as to what the proposed tax rate is going to be on, say, a residence in the school district. What I did at the very bottom here, and I've done this every year and every time we do a presentation, is I've given an estimated cost for homes at various assessed values, anywhere from 10,000 up to 50,000. What this budget would mean to each one of those scenarios, each one of those homes in a sense. So just to highlight as an example, for a home in the district that's assessed at $10,000, if you carry that all the way over to the green, the school tax portion of your tax bill would come in at $2,114, which would be a $28.06 increase. Okay, and that's if the total assessed value in the district would remain the same. Just a few minutes ago, when I had a conversation with the resident of the district, if that number, that estimated assessed value, that's the 689 million, if that were to go down, okay, the increase in taxes, school taxes, in this scenario here would most likely go up. Okay, so we just want to highlight that so that we're all of the understanding that that $689 million number is really an estimate off of a number that was given to us back in October. Next slide. All right, so I spoke about this a few minutes ago where I said the shortfall was the $354,000 number. And as Dr. Centimore clarified, if we were to get that extra 1%, which would bring us to close to a total of 3% in foundation aid only, that would be about a $360,000 addition in revenue. And therefore, we'd have a very small difference to be able to balance the budget. If we do not get that 1%, so if we do not get that 360,000, we'll have to start looking at other either sources of revenue, okay, which could be the district's fund balance, or some of the reserves. Those reserves are very specific. We're not just allowed to take any arbitrary amount out of those reserves, so we have to be careful. Otherwise, we may have to look at each of the expenditure codes. All right, our budget is well over 10,000 line items, so we're going to have to look at each one of those lines and each one of those account codes and try to come up with that $354,000 difference. Okay, so we can speak about some programs here, and in particular, the pre-kindergarten program, which is referred to as our UPK program. Okay, we currently have 11 sections that we're running right now. And we are proposing to increase that by 2 more sections up to 13. That would allow us to go from 190 students up to 226 students. I believe if I'm doing the math right, 18 students for each additional section. Okay. The state gives us state aid specifically for the UPK program. And that we use the word grant when they give it to us, and it allows us to spend up to $5,400 per student. Anything over that amount that it costs us to run that program, the district has to absorb that cost. And we do have an amount built into the budget. There are additional costs, so as we open up these two other sections for the classrooms, we are going to have to spend additional monies on classroom furniture and supplies. But we are optimistic that we'll be able to open up two additional sections for UPK.
Answer the question.
Sure.
So when I did the math, we had 294,000 plus was the additional before we added the two sections, correct?
You're talking like that 1.3 million, the total state aid?
When I looked at the number last week, it was 294,000, I think it was 600 and change or something like that. Correct?
Yep.
So when I did the math, if I added three sections of 18, it brought us to 291,000. We'd still be under, and I understand we can't use that money towards some of the furniture you were saying, right? Or in that sense of. So the question that I had was, where are we putting these sections? And do we have any opportunity to add that one more to make it 14? I know that we were adding one, then the board advocated we wanted another, or I know that I was very vocal about it. So I just am saying we have so many kids that are looking to be in the class this year. It looked like about 80 were going to be turned away. Am I correct? Or something along that lines before? Right? It was like 80 or 88.
Yes, so we had 271 participants in the lottery. Now, at the time that we were making the consideration, we were looking at 190 seats. After the last board meeting, that increased to 208 seats. And now we're proposing 226, which you're going above, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Right. Because what I was looking at is if you went to 14 sections, we'd still be under the money from the state outside of the furniture. Correct? Like, so 5,400 per student times 18 students for the three sections. Right. Well, that's why I'm asking. I mean, what is the max we could go to? I understand it has to be 18 kids in the section. That was the big thing that, yeah, so you can only go up to that much. But it was the way that I had done the math that came out that you could still add the additional one section and still be okay. But the problem we were having was space. And I don't want to see us inundate any one school with too many of those classes, the UPK classes. So that was the other idea was, are we moving any to Duffield? Are we trying to keep them at Slocum? You know, I don't want to see too many at Slocum if we can put one or two at Duffield. I know that it would be wonderful, but Cherokee is two, there's just no room. For a few years we had it there, but then we had to pull it and put it at Slocum. I also said I thought that John Pearl had a few. Are we looking to put another one on the south side, or is it just are we keeping it equal where we have enough on the north side and then enough on the south side?
I'll speak to that. And then I do have some numbers for a cost out for 13 sections, and maybe that'll be helpful to this conversation as well. So currently, this school year, we're running UPK with 11 sections. 4 of those sections are located at Idlehour on the south end of the district. 4 are at John Pearl Elementary in the middle of the district. And then we have 2 sections running at Slocum on the north end. And we have 1 additional integrated co-taught section that's running at Boston. The proposal for additional sections to sort of even the distribution of the program across the district would be on the north end. And I agree with you, Cherokee is not an ideal location because of the sheer volume of students who are attending that school at this time. So we would look for real estate, so to speak, in terms of classrooms in either Slocum, an additional classroom with a proposal for 13 sections in either Slocum or Duffield Elementary. Cost-wise, the total cost for 13 sections rounds out to $1,357,000. We're permitted, as Bob said, to spend $5,400 per student. So at 226 students, that's $1,220,400. The district's responsibility for 13 sections then turns into $136,800. So there is, and we currently have a district level responsibility because scope charges per section. So the scope cost per section of UPK is $104,400. And that's going to be the rate for 25-26 as well.
Now, the integrated, are we making sure, is that going to be under that? Or is it going to be able to go under the special education where we have grant money for that?
It's both. So that unique classroom is co-taught by a scope teacher for the general education students and a Connecticut teacher for the special education students. Although we pay for this section through scope education services, we fill part of that class with our special education students, right? So it's a combined effort in that classroom, and that functions within BASTI only. That's the one unique section.
Let me just make sure I understand this correctly. Can you give me the number again that we'll be responsible for?
So the district's responsibility for 13 sections, now this is an improvement over what we discussed last board meeting, would be $136,800.
Okay, so it's 18 kids per section?
Correct.
Okay, 3 section. We're going to pay $100 and something thousand.
So that is the cost per section, per scope, right? It's offset by the grant
Right, but
Mr.
that's what we're
Hauser just
responsible for,
discussed.
right.
Right, we're responsible for it to run the program. So it's not necessarily just those 3 individual, or rather 2 individual additional sections. Each, I think I mentioned, and actually it's still on this slide, the cost per additional section is about $7,000, $69.95, right? But we do have a responsibility for all of the sections, right?
So I
in
had
total.
mentioned last time that my older 2 had attended the UPK program here through the school district, and I had to pay. We did not get it for free. So in economic times, I don't know, like this is benefiting 200 and something kids, and you're going to hear this in the next slide when we discuss it. For 200 and something kids, the amount of money, I don't see how we can't offset that cost across the kids and give them that minimum amount of money to pay for the program still, and it still would be cheaper than them going to another school, and then they're still part of our district. Like, why aren't we looking at those avenues of passing along the cost to the community? Dr. Centimore?
Well, that would be a big change to the community. So we would need a consensus from the board if we wanted to do some kind of tuition for the pre-K.
We have students coming in that can read and write in kindergarten. Years ago, you didn't even have to go to kindergarten. Now, if you don't go to preschool, you fall behind. So we're going to now tell community members that probably don't have the extra money that now we're going to ask them to pay for UPK, which, by the way, over the years, at least since my kids are in school, which going back, I have a senior. So when she was in the UPK program, it was paid for and there was a lottery. And there's always been a cost to the district. We've always covered that cost because it's a program that brings the kids in more ready for kindergarten. We see that there's a much more challenging curriculum in first grade than there ever was before. We see kids falling behind educationally in reading and writing. This is not where I would cut, where this is where the kids need to learn a little more so that when they go to kindergarten and first grade, we set in a foundation for them. Educationally, I would not touch this as where I would go.
I think, I'd like to see those numbers, and it's not always, because I just told you I paid when my older 2 were here. So if I paid for the program, we didn't always pay for the program because I personally.
April, was that how many years ago? 20? Because I'm telling you, 12 years ago, it was free. So I'm asking you, how many years
I
ago?
understand, but what I'm saying is it's not always because I did pay. And all I'm saying is if we take that number and divide it by the 226, how much is it per family? I just think we should be looking at other things. And even if we don't offset the entire,
Can I ask you, why are we looking to, then if you like offsetting things, why driver's ed? Driver's ed has always been, no, driver's ed was always you paid out of pocket because it's your choice to go to driver's ed, or at 18 years old, you can get your license without driver's ed.
so I asked last year for the grant
Only
money.
brought that up because it benefits you this year.
No.
Yes, you brought it up this year because it benefits you.
It was last year.
I don't have little ones, but I know that the UPK is a program that the young people need. Educationally, it helps the kids. Why would we start chopping at an educational piece? Do you honestly think that driver's ed goes before
No,
a reading and writing?
available. It was grant money.
Well, then maybe we should look into getting more grant money.
I agree with that too.
I certainly wouldn't be looking to cut this. And to be honest with you, everybody had these numbers. We all have these numbers. So if you knew this, why didn't you speak up before we advocated for an additional section?
Mrs. Powell, would you mind, just for informational purposes, all the numbers that you did say before, I was trying to write everything down as you were going. If you could just email all that, all those numbers that you said, just so we have it written down.
Sure.
If you could just email all that. And I do have to add, I agree with you. I would not look to charge the parents for UPK. I would not go that route. It is very important for these kids. And I think another important aspect of it, besides the fact of the curriculum part, is that a lot of these children, they try to go to a school where maybe their sibling is, they do become more familiar with the actual building. And I think that's important. They're 4 years old, and it's really important if they can get into perhaps the elementary school they will be going to. That's huge. I wouldn't want to take that opportunity away from, that's not where I would cut. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that to them.
Mrs. Poppy, isn't it true that UPK helps with early intervention? It helps get our students prepared for kindergarten and first grade, and it sets them up for if they're going to need services or if they're going to need early intervention.
It has given us a keener look at who our incoming kindergartners actually are, because we have them in-house for a year. And although the school day is modified, it's a 5-hour school day, there's still a lot of data to be collected about these children. And that information is shared with, if they're not attending the program in the building that they will attend as a kindergartner and their elementary experience in, we do share that with the teachers, with the principals. So there's a direct pipeline of information about our students that starts from age 4 through a program like this.
Thank you, because I do recall us using it for early intervention for the last few years. And also for the fact that years ago, it was only 2.5 hours. And now we extended it to 5 hours a day. It's an incredible program. I would hate to see it touched, or I would hate to see parents have to pay for something that we've always covered under a lottery using grant money.
Okay, so the slide that's up right now, we're going to talk about here is the BOCES operated summer enrichment program at our district, where the district contracts with BOCES to actually operate this summer program. What this slide is detailing is from top to bottom, BOCES charges us $250,000 to operate the program. The district is allowed to collect tuition from the parents or the students. That amount we're estimating to be about $65,000. We also get state aid. Actually, in the subsequent year, the state gives us 57.3% of the $250,000. So the true net cost for the district to operate this program is $41,750. I think we have, what do we have, 100 students estimated to attend the program.
So this is my same concern, that it's only 100 students. We have over 5,000 in the district and $41,000 is going towards this. You know what? Fiscally responsible, it's very hard. And, you know, you're not going to win both sides. But these are big numbers that we're talking about for small groups. So I just want to understand, for $41,000, is it worth having this program? Which, again, my kids attended and it was wonderful. I just want to make sure that, you know, we're spending our money in the best places that can satisfy the whole versus a very small amount of students.
Mr. Hauser, can I ask you a question as well? Isn't it true if you make any of the community pay, you lose all the money the state gives you for programs like the UPK? No, I'm talking about the UPK, going back for one slide.
So I'd have
I
to
was just
research that.
looking
I
up
would have to-
something and it actually says that you could potentially, if you made them pay, you make the community pay, you actually put into lose the possibility of money that the state gives you for the UPK program. The whole option is that it's a lottery and they pay for it.
Yeah, I would have to confirm that. I don't.
Okay, thank you. Can you look into that for next meeting, please?
Yep, I will.
Thank you.
Any more comments on the summer?
Yeah, I'll just say that we did look at the tuition. So there is a proposed tuition increase. I forget if it was 3% or so. I think last summer they paid $635. And so I think we also looked at rates of other districts, and some are cheaper. And I think this is more on the higher end. If you're just going to compare an apple to an apple, you know, for the same pro, right?
Okay. So that sums up the proposed budget as we stand right now. Like I said, this was the third draft. We're coming into the home stretch with the next board meeting being the tentative adoption date. And we're also, like I said before, waiting for the state legislature to advise what our final state aid number is going to be. And for those of you who took a handout, you can see that after this slide, there's a number of pages of the detail of the budget. I'll post this up on the district's website tomorrow, but I don't think we're going to go through every one of those pages right now.
And I want to just thank our local representatives in the state Senate and state assembly who have been advocating for Connecticut and the other districts they represent to maximize the state aid, especially a proposed increase to foundation aid.
Also, even with us paying all of these fees, we still have the lowest tax levy that's come in, at least so far, that I've seen in the last 6 years. The last few years, it's been over 3.
It's formula based, and you know the way the system is set up, it kind of punishes you sometimes, although it's to the benefit of our residents and taxpayers. So we recognize and appreciate that very much. But we completed a good deal of capital projects, and so we're receiving a good deal of capital reimbursement aid, which is great. But then in the tax levy cap formula, it works against in terms of the tax levy increase. Again, great for our residents, and we appreciate that. But it shows you the ebb and flow of revenue streams based on New York State public education funding.
Does anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Hauser.
You're welcome.
Student government update?
Here? Oh, yeah, okay. Good evening. I'm Michaela, one of the Board of Ed reps from the high school, sharing a few upcoming events. Our spring break Spirit Week is underway, with today being Soccer Mom versus Barbecue Dad. I made sure to whip out my best tumbler to make sure to stay in style. Tomorrow is Teachers Just Like Students and vice versa. Thursday is Throwback Thursday. So I have to make sure I go digging around my mom's closet for all those. And Friday is Red and White Day to celebrate our Connecticut Pride. Our rising seniors can apply to purchase their parking spots from April 28th to May 21st. So they have to make sure to get their paperwork in early so that they are not walking a mile each morning like I am. Junior formal and sophomore trip tickets are now on sale. Please tell your kids to see their class advisors to purchase their tickets so they don't miss out on these fun events. And last but not least, of course, a lot of information for our current seniors. Senior banquet tickets are now on sale. They are $110 and check only, so no cash. Make sure to have your check and contract signed by this Friday, April 11th. In the planning stages comes a senior barbecue that's being planned for June 5th by Student Government, Class of 2025, and the Yearbook Club, as well as senior prom, which will have tickets going on sale soon. More information to come on all of these future events. Thank you for giving me your time today. Have an amazing rest of your night and an amazing holiday recess.
Thank you so much for all that information. Do we have an Orba rep? SEPTA? PTA Council? Okay. I will now open the floor for the first public comment portion of the agenda. An additional public comment period will be held later in the meeting. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number one.
Good evening. My name is Jason McKevitt. I represent the girls flag football youth program here in Connecticut. We coach from kindergarten up to 8th grade. I'm here, unfortunately, right after you just discussed a budget, asking for something, hopefully consideration for a JV program here in Connecticut. We have a varsity program. Girls flag football is the #1 growing sport across the U.S. right now. We have a great varsity program. We have a great youth program, but there's a gap. So I'm just here asking for some consideration as you talk about next year's budget, asking for just a little squeeze, for consideration for starting a JV program so we can have girls have the opportunity to play from kindergarten to 12th grade.
So I can actually speak to this. So my daughter is actually currently on the flag football team. And I know that it's a large squad.
Yeah.
And I've actually, as a parent, addressed this. The problem is it's new. So there are no JV teams for them to play against. So what our coach has done that I know is he does scrimmages with other schools so that the younger players, if you will, the JV squad, can also participate. But it is in the works to hopefully have a JV team because it's only, what is this, the third year?
Yes.
It's my daughter's first year on it, but I think it's the third year. So they are building the program. It's getting larger and larger across Long Island. So as more schools create the JV team, so will we.
No, I understand. It just, we see the JV programs doubling every year as from 3 years ago. This was the largest growth that we've seen this year. I believe they're up to 12 teams across Suffolk County. Some of those are pretty far, I understand, outside divisions. It's just next year they're projected. We're trying to get ahead of the game to keep the program growing.
Share your concerns. I hear.
Just in consideration. Thank you.
I actually have to say something about flag football. I just went to a bunch of college visits with my oldest, And it was so interesting to see LIU put up on their screen that they just added 2 D1 sports. And it's girls flag football is one of them. So that's awesome. It's going to be growing, and it's not just growing for high school. It's now going into, it's amazing.
Scholarships are out there. We're just looking to get Connecticut ahead of the game as far as getting the girls more playtime.
We should
It's-
advocate with Section 11. That's really what we need to do. We need to advocate and have parents advocate in Section 11 to see if they'll start it. Because if they start it up at that spot, it'll be across Long Island then, and all schools will have it where you'll have the competition.
The PAL has went from last year, we did a PAL across Suffolk County for age groups 5th and 6th graders and 7th and 8th graders. And that was roughly 10 teams. This year, they're up to 22 teams. Across Long Island, everybody is starting up teams. So it's just more playtime and more field experiences, what the girls are looking for. The parents have spoken to us, a few of the coaches. We're just looking to try to see if we can complete the whole system and have the full program.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Number 2. 3. 4.
So first questions are about budget. I was wondering how much we receive in federal funds. I looked back at the adopted budget presentations that are on the website. It only goes back to 22-23, but the expenditure lines are the same as the ones that were presented tonight. There isn't a clearly marked line for federal funding like there is for state aid. Is it wrapped into one of the other lines? If it is, why isn't it clearly marked? And if it's not, the revenues listed on the projections plus taxes should balance out with expenditures if federal funds are not included in this list, and all the expenditures that are included in the hundreds of line items in the budget are paid for through the documented revenue plus taxes. What does the federal funding go toward? And then after this, I have mascot questions.
I'll let you finish the questions and then we'll circle back.
Okay, so mascot. The NICEAD guidance did have an exemption where we could have kept using the mascot. It allows for a public school to utilize an Indigenous name, mascot, or logo if an agreement exists in writing between the tribal nation and public school prior to the effective date of the proposed rule. That should have been done by May 2023. Did Connecticut ever try and get that agreement? Also, NICEAD has said all along that we stand to lose state aid over this. The judge has now said that we could lose state aid. How much aid could we lose? Is it a percentage or the whole thing? And when would that be in effect?
So the answer to your first question is no, we did not reach out to the tribes. We missed the deadline to do it. To answer your second question, we don't know what state aid would be cut. I'll let Mr. Hauser answer your financial questions.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to keep this simple. So the budget presentation that we did tonight focuses on the district's general fund, and I'm just going to call that the A fund, okay? So that represented all the revenues that come into the general fund and all the expenditures that go out. And as you highlighted, it doesn't show, or nor does it include any federal funds, okay? So any federal funds that come into the district have to go into a separate fund. I'm going to call that the, for all intents and purposes, the F fund, all right? That's our special aid fund. So we have to keep track of all the federal revenues that come in and all the expenditures that are allowed to be used with that money in that special fund. We cannot blend it or incorporate it at all into the district's general fund. So that's the reason why we don't show it for the general fund budget purpose.
Is that available to be seen somewhere?
Sure. Actually, the auditors just finished the last school year's audit of that, so I can I can post it on the website tomorrow. And if you want, I can give you a copy as well.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Number 5.
Good evening, Mr. President. I'm a 1979 class graduate, and I'm an Air Force veteran. The Thunderbirds, T-Bird has been a great source of pride and inspiration for generations of Connecticut students. As an Air Force veteran, I enlisted while I was in high school. And when I enlisted, several members of the administration and teachers came forward and congratulated me for enlisting. They were Air Force veterans, and they told me at the time that the T-Bird, that its origin was from the Air Force Academy, that they had taken the Air Force Academy, they had shown the Academy mascot. It was almost identical to the T-Bird that we use as our mascot. They said the Navy veterans wanted to use Trident, and the Marine veterans that were members of the administration and the teachers wanted to use a Bulldog. That was no reference initially of Indian. It was the veterans wanted to use their mascots from when they were serving in the military. So I sent a email in more detail. Trustees, I believe, got it this afternoon. But in honoring the veterans, which are very numerous, that were both administrators, teachers, and students, that T-Bird origination came from the military, not from tribal. And I don't know if that was ever passed on to the judge. Myself and there's probably several other members of the military that from back then, we were able to have contact with administrators and teachers who were there over 50 years ago when the school first opened. I was still in, because I graduated in 79, which is a few years after the school had opened. Yeah, we knew the story of where the origin came from. Unfortunately, most of those gentlemen and ladies are passed on. So I'd be willing to appear in front of the judge and explain that to him, what the original origin was from firsthand knowledge from the people who were involved in picking out the T-Bird as our icon and our mascot, because that's where it came from. Could you imagine Connecticut being represented by a squid or a seal or a bulldog? Some people have their own agendas politically, why to get rid of things if they don't understand what their origin is. This origin is from people who served our country. Our school was founded just after the Korean War and at the beginning of the Vietnam War. So it had a very strong military presence of veterans in this community. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you to all veterans, but thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the background, the historical background with us, and thank you for your service. Number 6.
Number 6. Good evening. My name is Joseph Barber. I'm a 1989 graduate of Connecticut High School and a proud T-Bird and a lifelong resident of Connecticut School District. I'm looking more for some information as to the board's point of view on the mascot name. I don't understand why we should be changing Thunderbirds. I mean, to the previous speaker's point, a bulldog, well, maybe you should call it a pit bull. It's a Thunderbird. Who are we offending for a Thunderbird. And for a little bit of history about this community, Connecticut is named after an Indian tribe. Are we going to change that name? Is that offensive? We have Sachem. I don't care about Sachem. We have Sachem. Connecticut, we have what, Cherokee School? We have, what's that other Ronkonkoma school up there? That's a Indian name. Peconic. We have to change that too? But more importantly, I'm just curious as a resident of this school district, what is the board's position? I could see one board's position's in favor of mine. Thank you. 2, any more?
I think you need to know the facts first.
No, I'm just curious if your opinions on, are you in favor of it or not in favor of it?
I'm a T-bird. I love to keep the name, but I do think you guys need to know the facts of what's going on.
Okay, fact it out for me. Educate me, because you have all these keyboard warriors on the internet saying all kinds of stuff. So I'm coming right to you. Fact me.
I'm just gonna let you finish your public comment and then.
The second question I have, the gentleman with the girls' flag football, I'd like to know what this board's opinion is on boys in girls' sports. And does this board recognize 2 sexes? Listen, I have a 12-year-old girl, and I don't want my baby girl playing any sport with a boy. I mean, there's more doctors sitting on this table up there than I have in my doctor's office. So I think we could figure out who's a boy and who's a girl. And before I jump into any conclusions, I'd just like to know, does Connecticut School District stand for boys playing in girls' sports?
So I would to answer the question if they don't want to. This is not meant to be a back and forth with community members. For myself, I've always said that I am not for boys playing in girls' sports. Boys have their sports, girls have their sports. I have a female athlete in my house. I have male athletes in my house. They each play their individual sports. As far as the T-Bird, I advocated for us to go into the lawsuit. So yeah, I wanted to keep the T-Bird, I don't know how where it'll go for how long, but yeah, I did.
I want to fight. I would like to see the board just fight to keep the name Thunderbirds, because we're not the T-Birds, we're the Connecticut Thunderbirds. T-Birds is for short. But you take away one little thing and they're going to take away the next little thing. I mean, Thunderbirds is a freedom of expression. It's a freedom of speech. They're taking away that freedom from us. You can't just keep letting these things be whittled away at. Who cares? Who cares? Who are these Indians that are pissed off?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you what?
No, I mean, your 3 minutes are.
Well, you cut me off 10 seconds before my time was up.
Speak, but thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I am absolutely 100% with you when it comes to, I believe girls play girls sports, boys play boys sports. If you want to have a gender neutral category, that's something Section 11 can look into. But I personally would never support boys in girls' locker rooms or boys on girls' sports. I think that years ago, and I've said this at many board meetings last year, that as far as I'm concerned, we told our girls to shatter glass ceilings, and now we want to put concrete over their heads. It's unfair, and it's not fair for them. They should get their scholarships the way boys should get their scholarships. And like I said, if people want to petition or advocate for a gender neutral league, be my guest. I have no issue with that. I do have an issue with taking girls' rights away after people say we want to support all girls. Then you have to support the girls. And as for the Thunderbird, I am a T-Bird from 1996, class of 96. I will gladly fight as long as I can. And like I said, it's not about when people say it's about this, it's about that. It is about how much more are we going to allow the state take from us? For years, they've been doing mandates, At some point, somebody has to have a backbone, stick their heels in the ground and say, no more.
I don't believe boys should play on girls' sports, so I support you on that. As for the T-Bird, what I will say is that the state is pushing down mandates if we do not comply. And my thing is the mandates are going to be the cutting of the state aid, the removing of board members, the removing of the superintendent. These are, you can call them threats or whatever, but if they ever actually came through with them, now we have a decision to make. And you know what, I don't want to personally lose the aid over a school name when that affects all the students and the things that we can do for them. Can I finish, Jack? I'm just gonna finish and then you'll have a turn. I would like, so personally, you have never actually spoken to the state. I feel we should have conversations with the state and tell them what we want. Not just these lawsuits. I feel the conversation should have happened probably 2 years ago, but we didn't. I think now that we should be doing this before we think about going into more litigation. That we should be trying to communicate and say, this is how we see it. Just like that gentleman before you said, I would love to, the origin, we've been trying to figure that out ourselves because of the fact that, so many people, it was so long ago, but all this matters. And I think this is the things that we need to do first to make that happen, is bring this ourselves and our stories and what we ourselves want. This is, again, my personal opinion.
I would gladly give up my seat.
Did say 75% of our, everything in the school that's the wrong name has to be taken care of before the June date, just to give you facts, okay?
Here's the issue. 4 other districts are fighting this. 4 other districts have strong, 3, it's 4 of us, I'm sorry, in total. 3 other districts along with us, that's 4 districts. And some of them, I wish I was on their board because they're not only strong and experienced board members, but they're willing to take on a fight that their community is asking them to take on with money that's already been allocated in this year's budget that is not up. So if we're going to give facts, let's give real facts. Number 2, do you really believe that the governor's coming to take all of our seats? Because April, she can have mine. Okay, if she wants to come, she can have mine. You can put this on the news. No, you said that. They'll remove board members. And I give credit to all the boards who I've spoken to, board members from the districts that are in this, who have said, come take my seat. Come take my seat if that's what it's going to take. We were put here by the people to fight for the people. That's who we were put here for. We should be doing just that. I'm not saying let's keep on spending. But what I am saying is money is still allocated. And this is still an ongoing litigation, regardless what April thinks, because there is still a litigation with, I'm on one of the litigations as an individual, and that has not been taken out of court yet. So the ones where each of these districts have a board member who is on a separate lawsuit, that is still going. That has not been pulled yet.
Yeah, I would like for an opportunity to answer your questions as well.
Thank you.
I'll start with the first question about boys and girls sports. Absolutely not. I do not support that. I don't want them in the locker rooms. There are separate sports for them for a reason. As you said, we give girls all these opportunities. And I would not want to take any of those opportunities away from them. I think there are other political reasons behind a lot of this. Otherwise, we might see girls trying to play in boys' sports, but we don't see that, do we? We only see boys and girls' sports, and I do not support that at all. So at the T-Bird, I feel the same way. You want my seat? Take it. We have the money allocated. It's already in the budget, and I'm willing to go for it. This is what the community wants. I would not want to take that away from us. It's a slippery slope that I don't want to see us go down. What are we going to do with the rest of the names, our school? You said it before. It's not something that I want to see us go down. So I absolutely would want to fight for this T-Bird. Myself, personally, I want to continue to fight for this T-Bird, or Thunderbird.
And one other thing I want to state, to just so you guys know, Marisol has the emails. 2 years ago, we did fight. We did go to the state, April. We went to the state and we requested a derivative. Could we keep T-Birds? Could we keep Thunder? Could we keep Thunderbolts? There was a bunch of, could we make it an eagle? Since our mascot costume was purchased many years ago, is an eagle costume. And what the state told us was no derivative of the name, no imagery that's the name. So none of it can be used. So what she's saying is inaccurate.
Actually, I'm going to let Marisol speak, but we do not have emails from the state stating anything. For the record.
What we have is an
You weren't on the
email.
board.
What we have is an email stating that we missed the deadline to contact the tribes to see if we can keep the mascot name.
And we spoke to the state, and there is a derivative
There's nothing showing
from our attorney.
No, I do have a memo from the attorney saying that we.
April, I was on the board. You don't have to agree with me, but I was on it. I lived through it. So I know what we're talking about.
Melissa, would you like a chance?
It's just waiting for everyone to work it out. I think we've talked about this before. Nobody would ever want girls to be unsafe with boys on girls' sports, boys in locker rooms, boys in bathrooms, any of that. This just feels like a moot topic because I don't think there's boys in our district. I haven't heard of this as an issue. It just feels like a insulting talking point right now.
Well, it's never an issue until it happens.
But it's not, and it's
But
not
it
what
isn't.
we're talking about right now. And then as far as the mascot goes, the only thing I would like to point out to everybody, because I tried to look as far back to see what the options are, this isn't as abrupt as it seems, which is my concern. I'm also really not willing to risk any of our aid for it. I am a T-Bird. I would love to stay one. If there's a way to make it happen, it would be the ideal. And I think like anybody, no matter how they feel, would agree to that. This started 20 years ago with these, and then it came down as like a final directive. Again, we do have the money set aside. It doesn't have to be spent on that. I would like to look at all angles to figure out what the odds are of us really being successful in this, because if we can use that money towards like a program or the JV flag football team or something like that, if we know for a fact it's not going anywhere, that's one thing. But I do want to be careful about saying the whole community wants something. We've gotten emails on both ends. We've heard from people on both sides of this equation pretty equally today alone, I would say. Personally, like I said, if I could keep it in a dream world, this wouldn't be happening. But I want to be careful of like deadlines we were given, because that's also like a threat. I really don't want to test the waters on losing funding. I don't want to test the waters on Dr. Senimore being removed. So that's how I feel. I would like to see a more accurate representation of what the community wants, whether that be, I know we love a survey in this district, whether that be a survey, whatever it is. I just rather than just like the emails that people manage to send, I would like to find some way to like really hear everybody's feedback in a controlled manner before making any final decision.
Melissa, I support the survey. I actually just said that to Marisol. We did a survey the last time, but it has to be a survey that actually works, where people can't take the same survey 18 times. It should be attached to something that, that there should be some way to find out. If we would have done this, we could have found out on a vote. We could have actually done something with the ballot, on the back of the ballot, and done a proposition of some sort in regards to going forward. But the reality is, the last survey showed beyond a shadow of a doubt where this community fell.
All right, I'm going to move on to the rest of the public. We do have our own board discussions at the end where we can continue this conversation.
Could you just kindly indulge me one moment? Is everybody sitting at the dais of voting the board?
Sorry, I have to move on to the next.
Yeah, I'm just asking a simple question. If everybody at the dais is sitting up there, it's a simple yes or no question. So, yeah, rules. That's what you want to hide behind. You just want to leave it at this. As in closing, I just like to say to the board, fight. That's what your job is to do, to teach our kids to fight.
Please. Number 7. is passionate. Everybody has a feeling. We have rules. This is our meeting in public. We are here. We want to hear you, but there are rules for our public portion. You have 3 minutes. That's what's allotted. I'm sorry if that's not enough time for some people, but that's what we have. Thank you for coming and speaking, for sharing your thoughts. We appreciate it. Number 7, go.
Hi, I was just wondering if with what the gentleman was saying, the veteran, and I'm a 1980 graduate, if does that open another door for us, that it's not, that it didn't originate as an offensive Indian thing? Like, can't that override that kind of? I don't know. Does that give us an opening in to keep the name?
We would have to consult with legal on that.
All right.
Thank you. Number 8.
Hello. My name is Rebecca. I am a Thunderbird from 2004. My sister was from 2000. My dad was from 67. His older sister, Marcia, was from 65, and Lois was from 63. I believe that's the first year that they were here. 64. Okay, I might be off by a year. I grew up hearing the same exact story about the Trident and the Bulldog and how it ended up being the Thunderbird because of the Air Force. So thank you for your service and for saying that. I'm not going to waste any more time with that. I definitely think we should continue fighting. I'm happy to do my part. I know I was expecting this room to be full because the way everyone talks online, you know, everyone's ranting and raving about it. I'm going to move on to something a little bit lighter because you guys know where I stand. I think we should fight. But question, with the universal pre-K program, I homeschooled my daughter before this year. She's in 9th grade now. What is the minimum age, I guess, is for 4-year-olds? Is that accurate for the pre-K program?
That's accurate.
Okay, I like to try to get the students involved wherever we can. When I was in this school, I volunteered my lunch periods to help with the special education classes. Maybe there's an outlet where, I know it's not ideal to have them in this building, but if we have extra room here, maybe that's something you could do with getting the other students involved. I know a lot of girls babysit, and I mean, I'm sure there are boys who babysit too, but maybe that's something you guys could, you know, throw around if you guys are trying to get other kids in here and not have to turn away 80-something students. That's it. I agree with him though. Fight for our Thunderbird.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Number 9. 10.
Hi, my name is Veronica Angelo Heisman, and I'm a member of the community. I have a 2018 graduate. I'm wearing my shirt because I've been to everything my daughter ever was at. She was in music, whatever she was in, very proudly wear it. It's not my school district, but this is my community. I have one question. I have a few questions. First of all, how much money is left over to fight this? What's left in the fund?
I'm going to let you ask all your questions and then we'll circle back.
Okay. I saw the mat out front with the Thunderbird. I work in a school. We're about to buy that. That's $3,000 to $5,000 sitting right there. Everything that we have to replace, how much is that going to cost? Right there. Because to me, it's worth the fight. Because I think you have $20,000 left from what I saw. $20,000 worth, almost $400,000. I think the fight's still worth it. In any case, the T-Bird's mythical, but it's not the only thing that the American Indians or Native Americans hold in esteem. We have the eagle, the wolf, the bear, the bison, the raven, the turtle, the butterfly, the beaver, the deer, the owl, the otter, salmon, snakes, cougars. They don't have a monopoly on every animal and every creature, you know, and they're not the only ones that have a mythical bird, because I'm of Lithuanian descent and we have the firebird, you know, from that region. They're mythical, it's mythical. So I think the fight is worth it. I think that this is just a bunch of PC stuff and that, you know, again, you know, this is worth the fight, because you're not going to be left with too much more to pick from. They're fighting about the Spartans in Brentwood. You know, there's not too many other things to pick from. So I think that it's worth the fight. It's worth finding the origins. Somebody's got to have a yearbook somewhere that dates back, some historian in the district. So I would say that this is worth the fight, surely. So if you want to answer my questions about the funding and the money.
Yeah, so we have spent to date $23,425.
Okay.
We have $26,575 left allocated for.
Okay.
And to replace the mascot, I don't have that exact number, but it's about $340,000.
Okay, and that counts for every uniform, every symbol,
Anything in the district that would need to be replaced. We have itemized everything between uniforms, billboards.
That's why I said I looked at the mats. My school's looking to buy one. They're $3,000 to $5,000 just as we walk in the building. Yeah. So, you know, every little thing is expensive. So I think it's worth the fight. And let's remind the community that the state's not paying for those replacements. That will be in our taxes. So at some point, that's going to end up in our taxes. So I would say fight, continue on as long as you can litigate this and you have the money already set aside. I think that it's a fight worth fighting, that it's actually ridiculous. Again, you know, definitely ridiculous. I'm sorry you missed the deadline to negotiate, but we were still coming out of COVID. I mean, seriously. So it wasn't a priority. And I think we were sort of blindsided by all of this in a sense that they finally decided to go forward with it, because they never did that. You know, I've never heard of this, and I'm around long enough to know about Pataki, and I haven't heard anything until a couple of years ago. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. Number 11.
For sale, my Air Force veterans, thank you for your service. I served also. I am a 1968 graduate of John Jay High School, Brooklyn. We did sports under the Indian. Wow, how times have changed. They had to change a few years ago to the Warriors. They no longer have the Warriors either. They don't even have a symbol anymore. They just call themselves John Jay High School. And I'm afraid that that would be what would happen to this school district. We would just be Connecticut. And then they'd say, your name's Connecticut. That's a Native American name. You have to get rid of it. So maybe we'll be the Apple Blossoms. I don't know. We'll be something. But that's my first point. My second point is I had a very nice discussion with Mr. Hauser, because the last time I saw a tax bill, we had a 3.3% increase, and it went up. My tax bill went up 3.7, and most of you probably saw the same thing if you saw your tax bill. And the issue isn't that the numbers are wrong. The issue is, how does the town give taxable value that the school's increase has to go against? So they're trying to go against last year's number, or 2 years ago number, and last year the number went down, so therefore everyone's tax amount went up a little bit, and therefore your rate went up a little bit. And this is going to be a recurring problem, and this is something that I've talked about many times, is that we keep getting the same problem from the state government also. They want more apartment complexes. They want Island Hills to have 890 units. Those 890 units would probably translate into easily 450 students. That's 12, 13 buses in, 15, 16 buses with late buses out. That's how many classrooms of 22 children? 20, 22? Basti, Pearl. Where are you going to put these kids? High school, middle schools. We really need to look at the ground level, and that is that if we don't get ourselves all together on the same page, we're going to have Island Hills and some other areas of construction stuffed down our throat. And when we do, we wouldn't have to worry about being T-Birds or Indians or Warriors or Apple Blossoms. There won't be any money left because everyone here will be paying taxes that are outrageous. And it'll be very simple. Just the value of property will go down. And no matter what rate we're paying, that rate will translate higher because there'll be the same amount of money we have to spend, but much less taxable property. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you also for your service. Number 12.
May I ask my questions first? We'll come back. So I have a couple of things I want to address that I wasn't going to. Okay, the first question I have is, why is marching band required if you want to participate in band? No other ensemble has to be in any outside of the school day activities to participate. So if you want to be in chorus, orchestra, whatever, you're fine. But marching band, you have to quit then because there's no other opportunity. Not every school does that. I don't think it's fair that you're required to commit to marching and all these extracurricular things if you want to be in band. It's wrong. You lose kids that way. There are kids who would just love to learn an instrument and continue on and do it as a nice, relaxed enjoyment, learn more culture, have more world knowledge, and also make friends. Not everyone wants to be a marching band. And I say this as someone who has a music degree, so I support the arts. The other thing, graduation, it's coming up. I certainly hope we're going to go back to the prior seating, not the one we did last year, because there were a lot of complaints. Parents could not see. It's nice we have these beautiful new bleachers. Put the kids on it so the parents could sit in the field and we could see our beautiful children graduating. It's a big moment for all of us. It was a much better setup that way. We discussed it last year. There was a lot of upset with it. It's great if you have a reserved seat, like some of you might, and I think it's wonderful and you deserve it. The rest of us who have to struggle and climb up bleachers and everything else, not such a fun day. We'd like to see our children actually graduate. The other thing is, I just wanted to explain, I wasn't going to talk about the mascot, but I felt like I wanted to explain just a little bit because I think that there's just some misunderstandings here. So first, thank you for your service to all of our service people. I genuinely am unbelievably grateful. But the thing I did want to clear up, like, I understand that people were told these legends, and I'm not disputing that, but I also want to state that a quick search will tell you that the Thunderbirds that the armed forces use, it's inspired by the Native American legend because the Thunderbird was a powerful bird-like spirit that's known for its ability to control weather and bring thunder and lightning, which makes sense if you are flying a plane. The other thing is that everyone's having a hard time understanding how it's offensive to have the Thunderbird but not Connecticut. The Thunderbird is a caricature. It would be like if you made Jesus into a mascot or Krishna into a mascot or Buddha. It's almost like a mocking of it. That's the way that I was understood. Listen, I'm not arguing. I don't really care if you have a hippopotamus. It's irrelevant to me, but I'm just trying to make people understand. This was the way that it was explained. Whatever, I don't really care one way or the other. My identity isn't the mascot, and I don't think anyone else's is either, but that's the way it was explained. We do actually have Native American families in our school district that do go to schools and explain all these things and share the culture. Maybe that might be something that the board might want, or the admin might want to reach out to those families and see that maybe you can get a little bit of insight in that, so we could have a little bit of understanding and actual conversation instead of screaming down different cultures, because that's not okay either. We want to embrace everybody for whatever reason. So that's what I got.
Thank you. And I have to say, I do agree with you on the marching band piece. Maybe it's something that we could bring to the music director. I asked him. Sports kids actually end up quitting bands because they have to choose between marching band or their sport. So it's a very good point. As far as graduation,
it was hard.
As far as graduation, that's a building admin decision. I'm sure if you wanted to have a conversation with them, us as parents could have conversations with them. We both have seniors.
Right, but building admin has to get that approved through up here, and we had that discussion last year. So rather than have that and spend 50 years and then say, oh, it's too late, let's just have that conversation. So now.
To approve the
So
graduation.
the ceremony, everything has to be approved. However, all the setups and everything else, everything has to be approved up top. So it's not that I'm going over someone's head, but like, let's just cut to the chase. Like we discussed this last year. I want to know, like, what are we doing this year?
Thank you.
So I just actually, Jenny, I just spoke to building admin at the high school and I was interested in it going back. I actually agree with you. I liked the kids in the stands. I've heard from plenty of adult people how hard it was for them, especially the older people, to get up to the top of the stands. The other day, I decided that I was going to watch tennis and flag football at the same time. So I had the bright idea to go to the top of the stands. Then when I got to the top of the stands and looked over at tennis and looked over at flag football, I was like, wow, I'm up really high now. The new stands are super high. So the problem was that they said that the new stands hold, Mr. Allen, is it 2,500 or how many? 1,800. Okay, so 1,900, and the senior class is less than 500. So they were saying that for I guess for spacing and it was better to have the parents in the stands. I agree with you. I like it better. I enjoyed the kids being behind on the stage. Parents were able to get pictures. That's just my opinion. I liked it like that as a parent, and I would support that as well. But I did bring it up and didn't get anywhere. As for marching band, I had a child in marching band for 1 year, didn't like to march, but would have loved to stay in band. So I do agree with you. I just had a conversation. I brought it up to Dr. T the other day when I went to the concerts. I noticed that OBMS has a bigger, they had more kids participating than RMS, and RMS is a bigger school. So I was saying, can we look into how can we get more students to want to continue playing on both? Because I feel like by the time they get to the high school, a lot of kids drop out because they don't want to march. So that is a problem. I agree with you.
Yeah, I want to let you know, I also agree with the marching band. I happen to know one student who was on the football team who did do both. And they would go from the field to the marching band and back. So I don't want to say that you have to quit a sport for it, but I do not think it should be mandatory. Yes, it's obviously right, very convenient.
Thank you. Number 13. And I just want everyone to be respectful of whoever is at the podium speaking, whether you agree with what they're saying, they have the right and the time to say it. Go.
My name is Steve Sisti. I'm a resident here of 41 years. First of all, before I start, Dr. Centerport, Mr. Hauser, I appreciate your help in providing me some feedback on what I'm going to discuss now. There is a third STAR program called for low-income seniors. The district, the state of New York increased the level of that almost $20,000 back in 2002. Both the state, county, and ISLIP increased their levels. Our levels for this tax break income for low-income seniors hasn't been changed, I believe, in decades. I helped my father with this over 20 years ago, and I was shocked to see the same levels. The starting level for a tax break currently on the district's end is $29K. I don't think anybody could qualify for that living in this district, especially what our property taxes are. The new level is higher. I understand the district is now requested from the town to get the data to see what the numbers are going to cost, because we need to know, how that would fit in. But it's an important thing. I got involved. I have a couple of my neighbors, because I originally did this with my dad, that fell into this category. One in particular lost his wife. They lost half the Social Security, lost half his income. When I looked into the program, it's just, we're out of touch. We need to hopefully be able to increase this, hopefully when we get the data. And I'm asking for everybody on this board if they could look into it, if they could see if we could push this through. And when we get the data, seriously give it the consideration. I had this question at Meet the Candidates night at the Bohemia Fire Department last year. Nobody knew about it. It's something that's out there. And this is our low income people. These are the people hurting the most. And people fall into, bad circumstances and people lose spouses and incomes and stuff like that. And I think this is something, as a community, something we should really look into. And again, I appreciate the feedback and the help a lot. And I'm hat in hand, and I'm asking for everybody on this board, if you could give this some serious consideration and learn what this is and see how out of touch we are. I would appreciate it very much.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll certainly give it some consideration and thought. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Number 14. 15.
Hi, my name is Joe Ferrero, graduate 89. Number one, a mandate is not a law. Look it up, you teachers, doctors. Government gives you a mandate. If you do it, the mandate's complete, just like the masks. If you decide not to do it, the mandate dies. Nothing was voted on. Didn't go through the House, didn't go through the Senate, didn't get on the president's table. As far as this mascot stuff, who on the board speaks to the lawyers? Because obviously, some I could see eyes. Some are on board with keeping T-birds. Some are, well, we would like to, but I'm really not going to give up my seat, or I really don't want to give up the budget. That's the problem with the United States right now. They all got us, the government's got us all paying attention to taxes and more taxes, and the wives are working, and everybody's so busy that they don't do their research. You got to do your research. You got to stand up for what's right. That's the problem. Okay, you got transgenders, transgender. Only maybe 5% of the United States, with what, 134 million people, are with that. The rest of us aren't. You go on to Facebook, like you said, oh, yeah, we're getting emails, and they're pretty much equal. No, they're not. Don't even speak about it. They're not. I'm on Facebook. Got a pretty big account, too. I'm on Instagram. Got a really big account. And guess what? It's like 90-10. Keep the Thunderbirds. Is it really that important in your life? Are you going to die if they change it and it's not going to be the Thunderbirds? No. I graduated 89. Do you think I care? No, I care about history. Yeah, if the Indians have a problem with it, okay, that's fine. Get the Tawny Eagle. Because the state ain't going to, if the state turns around and tells you guys, or any lawyer, oh no, it can't be an eagle. I think we have some libtards in the area. Because there's no way they can say we can't have a mascot as a tawny eagle. And if you look at our bird, it looks like a tawny eagle if you Google it. And yes, we are allowed to take an abbreviation and say we're the T-birds. Oh, it's a tawny eagle. Get rid of the lightning bolts. That's fine. So the other thing is, I want to know which member speaks to the lawyers. Because that's going to only tell me how hard the lawyers are going to push for it. Because if half of you, if it's split, the lawyer will turn around and say, it's not really a big deal. Let me see what I can do. If there's only two of you that say, I don't care, and all the rest of you say, oh, we want it, the lawyer's going to push. So those are my questions. Common sense.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, for speaking. We all speak to the attorneys.
Good.
All 5 of us.
Okay.
Number 16.
That was it?
Yep.
You have no other answers but that?
That was it. Yes, sir.
Well, there's still 9 seconds left anyway. But so did you come up with an alternative for the Thunderbirds?
I will not speak to the discussions that are had with the attorneys and executive. Number 16.
I just would like to point out that I do feel we should be speaking about it, but most of the board members do not want to speak about it because of litigation.
Hold on, just so we know, just to be clear.
We have 2 more.
Just to be clear, litigation is something we're not supposed to speak about in public. If we were going to speak about litigation in public, then there's litigation we could speak about, April. There's litigation on, we could explain to people that there's litigation about putting.
Let's have this conversation during board discussions. I'm going to let the majority finish.
Has the opportunity that they could, if they wanted to, return things to wolves, but they haven't. That's the board majority, because it's too easy to point the finger at the board minority when we all know how this all works.
So Marisol,
The whole thing was, does anybody have an opinion? Get the course.
yes, I have an opinion.
Opinion on substitute. That's what I'm like.
Right.
Hypothetical speaking. You're not talking about it.
Right, and we're actually allowed to speak about these things, but we're not, because again, half the board thinks about litigation, but it's not about litigation. It's about the fact that we should be having alternatives. We should be talking about it, and we're not.
No, that's not what it's about. There's 3 other districts. I want to be very clear. There's 3 other districts. I believe in transparency, and I give more transparency than anyone else, it appears. But the problem is, we have 3 other districts involved in an active litigation. When something is dismissed, doesn't mean it was dismissed from a federal court. It does not mean there's no merit in the case. It just means that it gets kicked down to a different court. We have 3 other districts that we have to be respectful of because nobody has made a decision yet. We're still in litigation in regards to working with attorneys to decide what we're going to do going forward. We appreciate, I know, I can speak for myself, I want to hear from everybody, and I wanted this room to be packed out. That is true. I wanted it to be packed out with people on both sides. I want to hear people. I agree that in the last survey, the majority wanted us to fight because fighting using $20,000 or $25,000 versus spending $300,000-$400,000 is a big difference.
Well,
so, and not for nothing.
You got benches, you got roads, there's so many things you got to change. What about the big rock at the high school that the seniors?
Sir, number 16.
I have one more thing to say.
Guys, we're not doing this back and forth.
I respect you, Marisol, but I am. All I would like to say is that although I respect the other districts, I have to care about our community. So I don't think we should not be saying something because of other districts. I feel we should be saying anything that is relevant.
We will have the rest of this conversation during board discussions. Hold on.
No,
oh my God.
This is what I don't understand. If you're respectful, April, if you're truly respectful and transparent to the entire community, then when we had a gentleman show up 2 or 3 meetings ago, and now that's not a case, so we can say it's not active litigation. If you have student discipline, staff discipline, or anything else going on, and you have people coming up to the mic and saying, hey, I want to know what the process and procedure is, you sat there with a stone face saying nothing. You wouldn't answer people when all they wanted to know was the process is issue with a student or staff member. 3 board members on a 5 board, because it's a majority, can direct the super to direct whoever to put whoever back, whether it's a student or staff member. But you never wanted to give anybody transparency and tell them that. You wouldn't even let me open my mouth and say
we allowed Dr. Centimore to give the process.
But that process should have been given.
Guys, please, number 16, go.
Hello, my name is Ed Moulter. I'm resident for 20 years. I have a junior at the high school and would like to see if we can get some of these fully licensed juniors parking at the high school. I seem it kind of a little bit ridiculous that my son got his license the proper way. He's got his full license like me and my wife have, and he's forced to park his car on the side streets around school instead of being able to park on school property. That's all I want to speak about.
We actually were going to speak about the high school parking later. I guess if the board wanted to.
I can give you the information now if you want. We can cross this one off too. So, the community asked to put this on board discussions and to get the facts. So, we're always, all of us, I believe, are happy to hear from the community and, help out. So as you guys all know, that the take is that there's not enough room. At the parking lot, there's about 25 extra parking spots. More or less, who gets those spots? And why would they get those spots? If we did the 25, we've tried this in the past. It's been a trial, just so you know, they have done this. Senior parents then complain that it's a privilege, and now juniors are getting the privilege of what the senior has. It would be more traffic, and as many of you know, anybody who drives their kid or has gone there, it is a traffic jam in the morning.
Yep.
If we allow the juniors, which again is limited, and then would be unfair to the majority of the kids to park there, we'd have even more traffic. Although, you know what, I'm not going to give my opinion on this. These are the facts. And the only one I'm going to give my opinion on is that the fact that there's 25 parking spots. I myself have a junior, just so you know. How do you pick those 25? And I don't want to hear a lottery because you know what? Everybody turns the age at a different time. So what, the first 25, if you're born in January, now you get to park? What about all those kids that are born in March, February? There's really no fair way, in my opinion, to do that 25 parking spots. But again, these are the facts. This is, administration. This is, what their take is on it. I do agree no kids should be ticketed. And I think that as a community, maybe we should be going to the town about the parking signs that are on Belver that are not in front of houses, because that's, at least 5 cars can fit there. And I don't know why there's no parking signs there. Again, just an opinion, and I,
Yeah, I'm going to give my opinion because I can't. Years ago, when I was in Connecticut, what they did with juniors is they did allow them to park if they were in a program. It was a work-study program under Mr. Ney, my old teacher. He used to run a program where those kids that were in his classes, and it was really like a class of maybe 25 to 40, like 2 classes. It was a work study. So you came to school and you were going to leave school anyway at 6th or 7th period. And you were going to go to your job that was through the school and you got credits. They were either internships or paid work that you did and you got credits. It was a great program. And I have to be honest with you, a lot of us wanted to be in that program. I was in that program. So as a junior, I was able to park here. So I don't have an issue with that. As much as what my issue is we have to make sure that these kids have full licenses. That's first of all, because a lot of people have the misconception about junior licenses. Second is the space. It's seniors first, because that's how it always, it is a privilege of seniors, and it really is a building level decision. And third, most important, I do believe we need to have no parking signs. I don't want to see kids getting ticketed on one end, but on my day job, I am a police officer, and I do say this to people. You will see buses taking turns. If cars are lining the streets, it is very hard to get out of driveways. It is very hard. I know people don't want to hear this a lot of times. But you got to look at both sides. I mean, I even have hard times getting off my driveway at my house when there are cars parked across the street. We do not live in a neighborhood, in all of our neighborhoods. I drove down 8th Street the other day and I was like, wow, the roads are so wide over here. In Ronkonkoma, the roads are not that wide. Where we live off Cherokee and Seneca and Seminole, they're very small. You put 2 cars there, and Belver is not much better. When you put 2 cars on one side, if one bus takes the turn the wrong way, you end up clipping a car.
Yep.
It's just the reason it was done years ago is because there was a problem with too many cars being parked. And if emergency vehicles had to get in and out of the school, you can't even get an emergency vehicle. If both sides of the road have people parked and then cars on it, how do we get an emergency vehicle into the building? So there's a lot more to it than what people think. I look at it like this. There's a lot of parking. If they have to walk 1 block, they walk 1 block. If they got to drive to school. I would love for everybody to be able to park in the back of the school if there was the amount of parking spots, if they could figure it out at the high school. But on the flip side, I do not think we should be taking down or telling the town that we shouldn't have no parking signs. They're there for a reason, to protect our emergency workers that need to get into the building. God forbid there's an emergency on 7th Street.
And why do they only have to park in the back? There's a surplus of spots in the front of the building as well.
So the front is reserved for staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 17.
So I have a couple of questions and statements. It's the reason why this room, part of the reason why this room is empty is because on the Connecticut website, it states that the meeting is at CO. Okay. I went around to 3 different schools, including the CO. Okay. And it said April 8th, 2025 BOE meeting, not where it was. Okay. That can't go on. Okay. And this is the 3rd time that this has happened. Now, aside from that, I want to know why the 2023 deadline was missed.
Let you finish and then we'll circle back.
Okay, that's my number 1 question. I want to know if we have someone who's dealt on Gercio with the tribes. And if you haven't, why in fact did Gercio, being that you guys are all, each and every one of you, talk to the lawyers, why that was allowed to go by that deadline? And I want to know what Gercio's answers are for this. And if they have a representative specific to talking, since this is a major issue, talking to these tribes. I think that it says it all, that the 90% of this community, okay, wants this. I've stated this before. I'm part Native American, okay? It's not a caricature. It's important to all tribes. Part of the reason why we are Thunderbirds, okay, was representative of us being Connecticut, which means river, okay? We were on previously Native-owned land, okay? Having said that, this is not just a fight for that. There are other districts that may have Thunderbird or whatever it may be, but it was a part of respect, showing respect, calling our mascot, okay, but really representative of our district, the Thunderbirds. Now, and I'm not talking in a vacuum here. I have relatives that graduated from Sycamore Avenue when that was the high school. And then the first year, other relatives, the first year of the building, the high school building being built. Okay, so there are a lot of different reasons to this, but it's very important. My last question is, why are we talking about other districts? Are we in some sort of like communal legal issue with these other 3 districts? So my question is, why are we waiting, or we can't discuss something about because of those other districts? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's it.
So thank you. First, let me apologize for the confusion on the location of our board meeting. We will try to make sure that doesn't happen. Yes, I do apologize for that. We will. I'm being told by our district clerk that it is on there.
I don't care what you're saying.
Okay.
I Googled it.
Okay.
Okay. No.
I apologize for the confusion, and I'm sorry that you drove around.
It said CO.
Looking for our meeting. As far as why we missed the deadline, so that was with Dr. Adams. I don't have a reason why she missed the deadline.
You remembered.
Yes, I was. And when I asked her, the answer was, we missed the deadline.
Gercio.
So we are being represented by Sokoloff and Stern with this lawsuit. So
you hired outside?
So they are with Nicer.
I'm sorry?
Nicer.
So you hired outside. Are they apprised of everything that goes on? I assume they are.
They are not.
Wait. So they're not working in concert and keeping our district attorney?
I'm sorry. I misspoke. They are apprised.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
and
what
was your last question?
You didn't answer it. Then why our attorneys for, I don't know, as far as I know so far, more than 20 years, okay, why are they not keeping you guys apprised? And why, in fact, if you were with that other attorney, with those other attorneys, why didn't you question? And why are you still with them if they missed that deadline? That's very important.
So we are, the other districts, we're not in concert with anybody, but it is a group lawsuit. So in consideration for them is why we don't.
You're in a group lawsuit with these other districts.
To lower the cost of this lawsuit. So that's why we've only spent $23,000 because we share the costs of the lawsuit.
Right, but we are individually represented in the sense of it's the decision for, like, we're not, we don't have to do what all the others do. We do represent, and they come meet with us. We don't all have the same decision, if that makes any sense.
Was this legal group that you guys hired for this? And you're working in concert with these other attorneys. What was their answer for missing the 2023 deadline?
Not all districts missed. So going back to 2023, what ended up happening is we, as Connecticut, thought that we were not going to have to change the Thunderbird. Originally, if you look back, we were not part of the newspaper article when it first came out. We were not part of what they said was going to have to be changed. So Thunderbirds, we assumed we were not going to be touched because we were Thunderbird, T-Bird, and we were using it as an honoring. It wasn't like some of the other districts that they directly stated them right out of the gate. Then all of a sudden, Connecticut was thrown into the mix. And by that time, we were unable to get this to go and speak to the tribes. That is how it went down. It was not that they weren't going to. Other districts did speak to tribes. I cannot speak for them, but I know they did. I have all the paperwork from talking to other districts. We are in a lawsuit where the other districts, they went into the lawsuit first and we joined. We joined the lawsuit because we wanted to fight. If you can look back on the board meetings where we said, do we want to go in and it would cost X amount of dollars, and we would join them. That's how we went in on it.
So just to clarify, Gercio and Gercio did not keep you apprised. Clearly, our name is Connecticut. Clearly, when this was going down, even though we weren't named, they weren't on top of that? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Gercio and Gercio have done an incredible job of helping us along the way. This has been a very challenging situation. If you followed along this situation, you would understand that this all went down right after COVID. It got pushed back because of COVID. And again, Connecticut was not originally on the list of districts. Also, we did, just to be clear, we did bring up the Air Force. We did bring up that. That was something that we did go on about. There's a lot of things that I can speak about. And again, I am very transparent and I am very always open with things. But when we are in an active litigation and one that I actually want to win, then I can't disclose things. That's why you elect people to do that, to do those things. Do I believe that if this board is split, like it was split on the last vote, it was a 2-3 vote last time, then I am absolutely fine.
This is very important though, Jax. So what you're telling me essentially is, okay, that we jumped on the tail of another lawsuit, okay, with 3 other districts versus utilizing millions of dollars worth of legal team to do this for us. Okay, I get saving money. This is not working, clearly. Okay, and if we are not named immediately, it's a preemptive thing, I would think, because our name is Connecticut and because our mascot is a Thunderbird. So I hear what you're saying. Does it make sense?
Thank you. Okay. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the financial items 2 through 7?
Second.
Does anybody have any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the personnel items as presented?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So today is Miss McCarthy's second to last day. Tomorrow will be her last day with us. And we did just approve a new interim district clerk, Miss Kathleen Hoye. Thank you. Look forward to working with you. So if anybody needs to contact the district clerk, it's K Hoey, HOEY @ccsdli.org. Thank you. I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 16 of the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
Does anybody have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have Dr. Sinmore, Superintendent's update.
Thank you. Some notes here. So since we had a fairly mild winter, and there were no district-wide cancellations due to weather, there will be a full Memorial Day recess in May. I will put this out on Parent Square probably tomorrow. So that would be the Thursday, Friday, I believe that's May 22nd and 23rd, leading into the Memorial Day weekend. So a nice Memorial Day recess for our students. RMS and OBMS held wonderful pop concerts. Very cool how the students were able to have input into these the selections. And of course, as always, they sounded phenomenal. Thank you to Orba for their assistance as well. ESL night was held recently, a huge success. It served as another wonderful opportunity to celebrate our district's diversity, which of course is a source of pride and strength. A big thank you to Ms. Sosa, our director, and all of the staff, administrators, and all the families who participated. It was really a wonderful time. Career Night was recently held at the high school, and it offered a variety of professionals from many different backgrounds, as well as the military. And like everyone else was saying, and as the son of a combat veteran, thank you to their service. But thank you to alumni and community members who participated in this event to offer their experiences and their expertise. And thank you to the staff, the administration at the high school, Ms. Yanni Cola, for organizing it. The RMS recently had a Tri-M talent show. That was a lot of fun. It's really just amazing to see our kids at all levels, all ages, when they get on a stage and shine. And certainly a credit to our staff who works with them, and of course our families who support them. The varsity softball team recently held a suicide awareness event. Very, very powerful, and it helped shed important light on a very important topic. I think I have some board members who want to speak further on that. Thank you to the coaching staff and all the participating community organizations. We also recently had the music showcase of the arts at the high school, held at the high school. Artwork from across the district. The cafeteria was packed, the hallways were packed, several classrooms packed full of incredible artwork. And then in the auditorium, we had multiple dance groups and various musical groups, band, orchestra, chorus. Just, again, the arts in this district are premier. And thank you to all the kids for their incredible work and their performances, the staff who works with them, and certainly Mr. Malfronte and all the administrators. We had a good turnout of administrators who came and participated and attended, and we appreciate that. Earlier today, over at the town of Islip, they held Community Service Awards, and one of our seniors, Jenna Zakeman, is a recipient of a Community Service Award. Congratulations to her. Zachman, thank you very much. Tomorrow at the high school is the Seal of Biliteracy ceremony. 111 students will be recognized. This is significant because, you talk about, career readiness and setting students up for success, being multilingual. We even have some students that, in addition to English, have learned 2 world languages. And I just marvel at that skill set. And again, a credit to our world language department, our staff, the leadership, and for our families with promoting this with our students. Just wonderful. Kudos to them especially. And to our literacy department under the ELA department, they're going to be holding celebration tomorrow, Thursday rather, at the high school at 5:30. So a nice opportunity to further promote literacy across the district. We thank our director and our department for that event. I want to congratulate and thank the high school PTSA on a huge craft fair that they held recently, and we just had a PTSA meeting last night, and they said it was a very successful event, over 60 vendors. So we thank them for those efforts. And they're not done, because this Friday, the PTSA has another big event this Friday in the cafeteria at the high school from 6 to 9 p.m. is a pound auction fundraiser. And I will be there serving as the auctioneer this Friday from 6 to 9. After the break, the high school will be hosting the NYSSMA Solo and Ensemble Festival, as well as holding a personal financial literacy day. I know the district does a great deal in terms of promoting financial literacy. We even have high school students that will push into elementary classrooms to teach the youngsters financial literacy. So kudos all around to there. As always, thank you to our PTA, SEPTA, ORBA, Athletic Boosters, Civics, and Rotary for all that you do for our students, staff, and community. Wishing everyone a safe and enjoyable spring recess, as well as a happy Passover and Easter. Tomorrow, we also begin the grades 3 through 8 testing, which is computer-based. Some districts across the island started today. They had some glitches with the state and the technology, but we're hearing from the state that all will be good for our students tomorrow and the subsequent day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Centimore. I think we'll address some of the fun activities that we shared with you. Jax, if you want to start.
So we visited E&L night, myself and Marisol. It was a great time right here at RMS. The same night was I believe it was the OBMS, right, Jazz Night? So I went to that afterwards. They did an excellent job. RMS had their concert. All of these kids are so talented. Really, both concerts were amazing. I went to the craft fair for the PTSA. Right, PTSA, is it right? At the high school. Thank you to all of the people who helped. Thank you to our custodial staff, security, and all of the PTA that came out. All of the community that supported these wonderful different booths and ultimately raised money for our PTA and our kids. The Showcase of the Arts, unbelievable. What I saw walking around, I can't believe how amazing this stuff is. I really, really wish my own children would take the pottery, and these kids making teapots, they're making full statues. I mean, the art is incredible. So we really do have, even if your kid's art isn't in it, it is so worth going to see. What amazing artwork. Thank you to the teachers and thank you to the students for all you guys have done to make that night a success. It was really great. Career night, I appreciate everything everybody did. I appreciate all the parents and all of the community members that came out. We were a little bit sad, I would say, or I would say both of us were talking, Marisol and I were there. And what we had seen it didn't have enough people, enough students showing up in the community. And Marisol had mentioned maybe giving,
extra credit for homework for a core subject.
And I said even
students to come.
And I said even adding community service, something that we could get this to be something that more students would want to come out, because so impressive. I listened to people speak, and really such impressive professionals we have in our district, in the way of parents, in the way of community members. Thank you to all of them for coming out. And then the suicide awareness softball game was incredible. I want to thank the coaches for inviting the board. They specifically invited me also in my other capacity through work, and had me speak on behalf of first responder suicide. That is an uptick in our, on Long Island and in New York State, all across the United States. It was a beautiful event, the way that they hold it in honor of the students. And the students did such a beautiful and remarkable honoring to bring more, to break the stigma and to really bring more awareness to suicide. That you always have a friend, you always have a person, make sure that you have one of three people. Always know that you have three people that you can go to, so that if one is going through the same thing as you, you have two others. Or if one's busy, you can get two others. Always know that you have somebody you can reach out to. Really, thank you to those teachers, Mr. Canonica and Mrs. Goodwin. You're doing an incredible job with the softball team, as well as with that beautiful dedication and honoring for the students. Thank you also to all of the teachers who were there to help out, and Dr. Pisani, who was there with a table, and all of the other 988 that came in, and the mental health awareness.
Thank you. We have our committee reports. The curriculum committee, Ms. Napolitano-Furno.
Let me just get it up on my phone. They were talking about coding for sixth grade, looking into coding more. Let me see what I have. Yeah. So I did take notes. Okay, here we go. Coding as part of a digital literacy curriculum, coding as a push-in to the class. There was also going to be a committee for coding, it looked like, and elementary students are already exposed to various aspects of the course description that are already functions of their daily, like example, Google Classroom. The thought was to push in during math course in middle school, as they have a double period of math, focusing on maintaining interest in the subject matter, like attempted exposure in elementary schools, universal exposure in middle schools. There was a committee discussion in regards to fulfilling digital literacy state standards through dedicated instruction. Mrs. Poppy shared a wonderful computer literacy description and slideshow for all of us. There was a 10-week course providing students the knowledge and ability to use computers and technology effectively. There was discussion about online coding programs. Committee members shared other district uses a program called Code Monkey. So there was a lot going on. The chosen discussion topic was sixth grade coding. They also did a update on New York Inspires, a discussion about a plan to transform education in New York State. New York State Board of Regents exemption for students who have experienced trauma, exemptions from diploma assessment requirements for major life events. The Board of Regents approved an emergency action to amend the regulations. So just some of the things.
Thank you. I love bringing in the coding in the sixth grade. I love that. The technology and website committee was canceled, so we will have an update next time. Food service and nutrition committee, that is me. So we discussed the new extending Aramark's contract for next year. And we discussed our chef days that we have and making them a little bit more robust and still educational and informational. I think everybody's doing a great job. And hopefully we'll have more guest chef days that are a little bit more interactive. Board of Ed topics. We have Shadow Day, Ms. Inatelli.
I just want to tell people about this program. We have a club in the high school called Future Teachers of America, and the advisor had worked throughout the district to allow students to shadow a teacher for an entire day, so they can see what the teachers, the curriculum, how they go about, what they're going to teach that day, the classes, what they do on their free time, their correcting different things during the day. I just want to point out what an amazing program. Sometimes and I think this is for every career, you think you want to be a teacher, or in this case, but you go for that shadow day and you realize, oh, this might not be for me. Or you thought you wanted to be a high school teacher and you went and shadowed at the elementary school and you say, wow, I didn't realize maybe I'd rather do this, or vice versa. I just think it gives the kids an opportunity before they go to college to see what the actual day entails and what being a teacher in, their field would actually be. So I just want to give, kudos to this advisor for setting it up and the district for allowing the kids to go into the classrooms for the day. And any kid who, you know, is thinking about being a teacher and can part of the shadow day, I really recommend that they do this.
I do love that program. Elementary STEM programs, Ms. Sinatelli.
So on our district website, we had, they had posted about our teachers going to speak about our STEM programs in elementary school. Now, I did not know about our STEM programs in elementary school, so I was hoping that says computer science, engineering. I was hoping that Ms. Poppy could shed some light on what exactly is happening in elementary schools that we're implementing these STEM programs.
I sure can. So we offer enrichment for all at our elementary level. So this particular program touches every student in all 7 elementary schools in every grade level. The program itself is our elementary computer science and engineering program, which is facilitated by 4 teachers, again, across 7 elementary schools. The teachers rotate amongst the buildings on generally a 6-week cycle. And that's an approximation, but it's pretty close to reality. And every student annually will receive between 18 and 21 lessons in computer science and engineering that are age appropriate. All of the lessons are anchored in the computer science and digital fluency standards, which was the foundation of our discussion during the last curriculum committee meeting as well. The engineering principles and the next generation science standards. So we've done quite a bit of work in the last few years, quite a bit of updating to this curriculum. It is a living and breathing curriculum. And I think a couple of meetings ago, there was a question about the purchase of Ozobots. The board has been very generous to this program, maybe unknowingly, but approving spending to enrich the program, enhance student access to materials. It becomes tricky because the program does not have a home per se, so the materials travel with our teachers, and we've been making some inroads to creating sort of permanent and fixed labs in our buildings that can store some of the materials so that, again, they're available to our students and our teachers and at their fingertips. The program itself is supervised by Mrs. Berger and is alive and well. And I'd like to extend an invitation to the Board of Education to see some of these lessons in action. If you're interested, I can go ahead and set up a visit within the coming months.
That would be great. I really appreciate that. I would definitely want to participate.
Thank you.
Same. I would never say no to STEM.
Yes, count me in as well.
Counselor Grant, Ms. Inatelli.
So I just wanted to get an update. A few months ago, you know, we had gone to a presentation and they had the counselor there. I wanted to see if we got an update on getting a grant towards using this program within our school district.
Sorry. So Counselor Grant, we've been working with Ms. Bassani about the Counselor Grant, and at this time, we've looked into different aspects of the program, and we don't feel that the program itself is something that we would benefit from, given that it's a text-based program, and the students would not necessarily have all of what we can offer. It just didn't seem something viable for the students in Connecticut.
Yeah, so the reason I brought it to the district is because it was text-based. And I felt that students aren't always apt to make a phone call or go down to a counselor, but all of them text. All of them love to text. So that's why I brought it to the district, because it was a text-based program. So I still would like to know about the grants. And that's why I said I'd like to still know about the grants because of that financial aspect.
Right. The issue was also who was receiving the texts on the other end. We were vetting the individuals, the counselors who were receiving those, and we didn't feel that they were.
So we contacted the company, vetted the.
Dr. Pisani did, in fact, contact the company and had conversations with them about their staff.
So is it possible to get a written report on that for the board?
She emailed me. I can forward that to everybody.
Appreciate it.
I would also like to see that report.
The estimated cost was about 140,000, and we're trying to see, she was going back to see if there was any funding available to offset any of that.
The counselor is the one who told me that there were grants and also the 140. I'm not sure if that included middle school. I really was at a high school level. And also it might include staff, which at this point in time, I was really more concerned about our students. The staff has other avenues as adults. So I wanted to really cover the student base.
We keep talking about, we don't want to spend money on this and that, but you want to spend money on something like this without a grant for it. It would absolutely cost, well, I'm just saying, it would cost as much as the UPK. And I would much prefer to see students learning about reading and writing than us bringing in something like this counselor program that we don't even know who's on the other side of those text messages. We talk about vetting people in. I would be concerned if my kids were just texting someone and we don't know how their vetting process is. So I trust that Dr. Pisani does a great job with her people. And I would prefer that we look in something in our school. Maybe there's an initiative we can come up with here that could be similar to something like that, but that we vet the people. I didn't like when we did the scholarship, and I certainly wouldn't like this, where you're using an outside company and vetting people to talk to our students that you're not even sure who the person on the other side of that text is.
Yes,
So Ms. Napolitano, for
one
I
second, Roger,
apologize.
if you could.
Sure.
I just would like to make it clear, I never would want a program unless we had the grant. I don't want to spend extra money. Second, I would also like to say that I do want to see the report for the reason that I want to find these findings, since the group of people from counselor gave me a very different impression. So of course, that's why I want to see the report.
I was at the same convention you were at, was the night that we were all at that mental health. And I spoke to the same people you spoke to, and I wasn't, like I said to them, it sounds like a nice program, but again, I didn't love the idea. When I asked them, they couldn't answer me either. When I said, who's on the other side of that phone, how do we know who's vetted? Because a lot of times they explain that people could be, they can't tell you exactly. A lot of it is confidential. So you don't know who the person that they're talking to, if it's a vetted person or not.
So I had given the board in an update, a little synopsis, but it sounds like that, you know, Mr. Khalifa, when you speak with Dr. Pisani, they're really looking for, I'll use one of my favorite words, a more of a robust, report. And it sounds like we have a little bit additional information, maybe more of a high school focus. I do know she was looking to see if there were any cost offsets, so we can just allow Dr. Pisani a little bit of time to continue looking at the cost piece, kind of focus more on high school, and to put a more detailed report together. We can just give her a few weeks.
Okay, so this is the concern that Dr. Pisani shared with me, which is part of the report that you were asking about. There were 4 avenues here that she was concerned about. Again, the district is only notified if the student is using the service when they refer a crisis call. So we don't get notified that the service is being used. Although it is fully compliant with the New York State 2D, HIPAA, and FERPA, we asked to provide counselor with all of our student information, and they're not sure if every parent will approve of this. Students can access this during the school day in lieu of going to the mental health support staff in the school, which is a big concern for us, given that, again, if, God forbid, something were happening and they're contacting outside agencies rather than our own counselors, social workers, psychologists, it could become problematic. And also, not all the providers are New York State certified mental health professionals. These are the items that Dr. Pisani had reported to me that I will forward to the board in the morning.
I appreciate it. I'll do my other research.
Thank you, and please thank Dr. Pisani for that information as well.
Thank you. Communication, Ms. Napolitano.
Hold on. Are we trying to say that this place employs people as therapists, but they're not licensed? Because that's
In New
not
York
what the,
State.
yeah, and that's
In
not
New
what the
York State.
website says. So like, I definitely want to see what we're talking about, because like, that's just straight up illegal. Like that, so I can't fathom the idea that like there's something we're missing there.
Okay, I will ask Dr. Pisani to follow up.
Okay, so we have received over the last couple of months a bunch of different emails about communication issues. Well, I can appreciate that our website is taking a while to be put together or, made better or reinvented. It's taken way too long. So, parents are frustrated and they have every right to be. They're complaining about Parent Square. It's not being used as much as they thought it would be. They had hoped that the communication would be better, but somehow it seems worse. There is talk about how, they're frustrated by the useless and ineffective scholarship program that is now used. It is not used anywhere near its capacity or original intent. And it now feels like yet another tool to add that we haven't used. I mean, there is so many issues going on right now where parents have said to me that they have not, and now we're seeing it because it's coming in emails as well. What are we going to do to make sure that the communication is more direct, clear, concise, and transparent for our parents, our taxpayers, our community, because it's just not working. What we're doing right now is just not working. Parents, they need to know what's coming up for their students, and the community should know what's coming up. Because I even had people say to me, I told a bunch of people in the community that are older and don't have students in the district anymore. I explained to them, hey, there's a play, there's this, there's that. And that's why I try to share as much as I can on social media when it's that kind of stuff. I actually just shared, to the pound auction to kind of help out. I'm part of the PTA, but to say let's try to get it out there to these people. What can we do? We brought in this Parent Square. We said it was going to be used, and too many things. This one parent saying that they're missing information about important senior milestones, to being uninformed about, what's going on in the school, to lack of information, access to planning, for college and for other times, having an issue with getting the students' scores. I mean, there's a lot of delayed responses. What can we do? It feels like they're beyond frustrated, and they have every right to be. And we keep saying we're going to do better. We're going to do better. We're going to do better, but we're not doing better.
I just want to give my thoughts, I guess, on Parent Square. Here's my frustration with it. I find that some of the information is not what I am looking for. And I don't want to call it useless information, but it's not something that I would want. So what happens is we get too much fluff in between the important stuff. So for me, I was wondering if there was a way to make the app let you pick and choose what you want to be alerted on. I know you can pick what time of day and you can get them all at the same time, but I want to pick and choose what I want to be alerted on throughout the district instead of, I have them all off at this point, which is why I miss a lot of the stuff, and I count on my kids, God help me, to keep me updated. But that's my frustration with the app.
And we could certainly look into that. I do know that the schools, especially the older kids, they do use the Google Classroom a lot for communication. And this was just discussed at, I understand that, but it is.
But that's not fair because I don't access my child's student Google Classroom account. So that's not keeping the parents informed either.
I understand, but we are this year we transitioned into Parent Square. And so I'm certainly, trying to push its use more. The website committee, and we have some incredible getting some incredible input from people in the community. We have board representation on the committee as well. The website will be launched this summer. It'll be a much better website. And in terms of additional communications, besides Parent Square, I do know that a component of Parent Square besides the text and the email is the phone utilization. We try to reserve that, so there's not so many phone calls. And in terms of responses, with any kind of correspondences that come in, it's still the same professional expectation of returning a parental correspondent, as quickly as possible.
All right, armed guards, Mr. Napolitano Ferno.
So when I came in today, I was a little stunned. I know that our contract is up and the position of armed guards came up. And it's a professional service. So the board can absolutely continue with the professional service. But unfortunately, we have some board members who feel that they're doing their due diligence that they don't even understand. They don't have the experience to understand. They don't do their due diligence. They just say, I'll do my due diligence. But the problem that I have is I have said this from day one when I fought 10 years ago for armed guards. I've been fighting for armed guards for many years. My issue will always be, we have the most incredible company. We have the most incredible armed guards, so much so that Connecticut, and this is said across Long Island, is used as a template for what security is supposed to look like in a district. Why in the world would a board who has no experience keep saying they want to do their due diligence, yet you're not doing your due diligence because you could potentially hurt our students and our security as a whole while doing this supposed due diligence? So April, be my guest and do your due diligence.
So for the record, our policy stated that we should be going out for an RFP this year. It was not a board decision. It was what our policy states. When we received today, first of our knowledge, several different companies who are now bidding, it is our responsibility to financially look at this and then to vet and find out which one is the best. Now, I'm not saying that ours is not. Ours is great, and I don't have a problem with ours, but there's a $132,000 difference between some of them. So when I'm looking at that big of a number, I have to say, I need to meet with these people. I need to find out what they're offering, what's going on. Although I might like someone, my responsibility to the district isn't to pick who I like, it's to pick who is going to do the best job for the best money. So I need to do that. And do I want to lose the company we have? No, I do not. And I'm hoping that it all works out, but I do have to go through the steps in the process to ensure that we are picking and doing the best thing for our district.
Okay, well, the best for your district is to have the best. I want to let you know something. I said this. I told Melissa, an executive, which isn't an executive conversation, so I can speak about it now, that when we pick committees, and it was the mental health committee, I 100% said, Melissa, take the mental health committee. That's your wheelhouse. I said that, and I have no issue with that. I love the mental health committee, but you know what? It's her wheelhouse. Jackie loves it. Marisol loves it, but I'll stay an alternate. But I said emergency management team. No, I ain't giving that one up. You know why? Because that's my wheelhouse. And when I said to you all, and most of it was supposed to be here out front, that when you're looking at those, when you're looking at numbers, what are you getting for those numbers? Well, let me tell you, it's kind of like when I hear people say, let's get rid of the bus company. Are you crazy? Do you want to see this place packed out? Because it'll be packed out. Because people want your children to know who they are dealing with. People like that our security and our bus drivers know our children. That's the number one reason people say all the time. These people know our kids, know who the players are, know who the people who come in late are, know who needs a little bit extra, hey, how you doing today? I would never never steer this board wrong when I say that across Long Island, this is a company that everyone wants. This is a company that I have been lucky enough to go and actually, as a board member, see the training up close. Because I said, before I say yes, no, I'm glad, I want to see the training up front. Do you know the training is so hard? I don't even know that I could pass this training. So the reality is their training is harder than what police officers, sitting active cops go through. But you want to do your due diligence, April. You don't even know what your due diligence is after a year and a half on the board. It's to make sure our students are safe first and foremost. It's to make sure that those kids, when they come in that door, the people who are here are going to keep them safe. I would at any time stand shoulder to shoulder with these guys, men and women. They are the best of the best. I will forever, and I mean this, forever fight to keep their professional service, because you can bring anyone you want here. They do not have the experience, they do not have the know-how, and they do not know Connecticut like our security. So I'm sorry, you need to do your due diligence, but I need to make sure that the students and staff are safe at all times. And that's why I will forever bet this company as the one that Connecticut should keep.
Policies, Ms. Torregrossa.
Just wanted to put on everyone's radar that we do have a couple of policies that we have to adopt coming up. So I don't know when the next policy committee meeting is, but one is by July 1st, we have to have a policy in selecting an ex officio student board member. And that does not, the student representative we have does not cover that. Like, it's somebody who is up here with us for public session. And that policy has to be in by 7/1, and then the extreme heat, excessive heat in schools, I believe. That one I think was around 9/1. There's like NISBA sample policies and everything too, but I just wanted to make sure we had it on the radar. The other one, I don't, and I mean, Anthony can correct me, I don't think it's set in stone yet, but the smartphone free schools is coming down the pipeline. So that's another one that we have to pay attention to, but the other ones we do need to get moving on.
And there is a standard NISBA policy right now for distraction-free environments. I'm happy to provide a copy with my review and edits for the board's consideration, but that is at this time only option.
Yes, please, and thank you. Melissa, you said that the student government representative, if she sits here, it counts, but not sitting in the audience?
It has to, that doesn't, it actually says that the district, it says, what if a district or BOCES already has a student liaison who attends board meetings and gives reports, but does not sit with the board? And it said the district still needs to have an ex officio student board member. This individual can fulfill the functions of the student liaison while also participating in their role. And our policy has to like outline how we're going to select, like how that person gets selected, how like we just have to, there is a sample one for that too. There's like a standard.
6 years ago, we had one. Actually, Miss Ketty, it was your son. I was lucky enough to sit next to him. Yeah, he was up here. He was up on the stage with us, and he was an incredible help. And it was really nice having a student's point of view. So I would 100% support that. I don't really understand whatever happened to that, because he graduated and then nobody took the spot.
April's daughter, I don't know if it was daughter or son, but one of her children actually sat up here also.
Right, but I'm saying not after. That was the most recent. He was the most recent. Yeah, he used to be right next to me at the end. We were there.
Thank you. Okay, I will now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. Is there anyone wishing to speak? I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number one.
Just a couple of things. One of my questions is, I asked over a year ago about grant writers. And when I revisited that and asked again, I don't know, 6 months later, I was told, no, we couldn't find any. Just to put this out there, there was a gentleman talking about seniors, helping seniors. Grant writers, when they do that for a living, they know the ins and outs, okay? They actually can help the business administrator. We especially need them now with everything going back down to state. Okay, so once again, if you house them, getting 1, 2, 3 professional grant writers, okay, and they are out there, they eat what they kill. Okay, that's how they earn their living. So we're not paying them. Okay, it behooves this district to do that. Okay, millions upon millions of dollars are out there waiting to happen.
No, I'm just going to let her finish. She has her 3 minutes. I'll let her finish.
Okay, so
we have a grant writer. We have a grant writer.
How many?
One.
So, okay, so if you have one grant writer, why are we talking about Mrs. Pisani looking into a grant? Do you see what I'm saying? At this juncture, it should definitely be more than one. Having said that, Jax, I absolutely agree with you. I was on the board that hired Don Flynn, okay, and they're wonderful. And April, just to say $137,000 is, you don't want the lowest bidder, okay? He's really kept this district safe, just saying that. That's it. So back to my question, more grant writers. I mean, one is not enough, clearly. Are we still in the process of looking for more grant writers?
I'm going to let you finish your 3 minutes.
Okay. Are we in the process of looking for more grant writers? And are they a full-time position for Connecticut?
We're always looking for grant writers. And yeah.
And the one we have is a full-time position?
She's actually, they are not full-time right now.
I personally have not seen the benefits yet of the grant writer. You know, they don't.
I'm sorry.
I said, I have not seen the benefits of the grant writer yet, but they only started a few months ago. When I asked about the grant, I thought the grant writer would be looking into it and not Ms. Pisani. So I was a little surprised she was the one going to look for the grant. I'm hoping that now that light's shed here, that maybe we can look more into that. And I, of course, now, want the answers, as you heard me earlier, about the grant.
Okay, so about the grant writer, is this a freelance or is this a company that was hired?
It's freelance.
Okay. Might want to look into more than one. And if they're not getting grants, that's an issue.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, back in 1980, that was a long time ago. I helped Bohemia Fire Commissioner Ray Audette Sr. Work on a plan up at Connecticut High School that would have extended the exit through the parking lot along Nathan Drive, behind Hill Drive, and linking up with Crossway East as a viable emergency exit and exit for the parking lot, giving the school a second exit. I don't know whatever happened to the plan because I moved down to Washington after that. If you guys want to see if maybe somebody has that in one of the archives.
I believe that exit is still used as an emergency exit for emergency vehicles. Number 3.
I just first would like to thank you all for doing this unthankful job that it is that you volunteered to do. So thank you for all that. through the chair to Jackie's comment about the security guards, security guards. It's good to know that we have armed security guards. I always figured we did because we always hired retired NYPD or retired police officers to fulfill those. I still hope that's the case today. I heard there's some kind of a company that's used, whatever. Hopefully it's still that same process like it used to be. But for $130,000, I think you're looking on the wrong tree to start penny pinching, because there's not one student's life worth $130,000 in this school district. So along with being a Thunderbird and being the best of the best, that's what our kids deserve, the best of the best. We don't need no outside people who coming from all kinds of different areas that don't give two shucks about our kids. I want our neighbors that we have to look at every day and pass in the stores and on the streets protecting my kids. So your $130,000 you can find somewhere else to cut out of the budget, but not on the safety of making a decision about how our kids' safety is going to be handled. Just my 2 cents. So thanks.
Thank you.
Still fighting.
And all of our security guards are either active or retired police officers.
I just would like to say that this isn't about our security guards that are in schools. All of them work for our district. This is only about the armed guards that work out of the school, which it's 11 at a time that are on duty. That's what this.
April, can you stop giving information? No, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off there because you should not be talking about security numbers. He will tell you that. See where the attorney's coming? You're giving information that could potentially hurt our students and our security. Please don't give numbers.
I used to go through the process, no matter what. Like that's what we're supposed to do. We don't just stop. We should go through the process and hear out other bidders.
No penny pinching. Safety.
I'm with you. And it's not about penny pinching. It's just about knowing that security is one of the most paramount. Our student safety is the number one thing. Students can't be educated in a classroom if they do not feel safe.
Yeah.
Staff cannot teach if they are not safe. We have the best of the best, and I don't ever want to make them feel like they're not the best of the best.
Yeah. So I do have a child that goes to the school still, and she is petrified every day to come to school because she doesn't feel safe for one reason or another. So how do you learn when you're not feeling safe? Right? So you're supposed to feel safe in school. So I want the best of the best protecting our school. That's all. Thank you. Have a good
100%. I have 2 children in the school and I feel 100% confident with the team we have. Number 4.
I just wanted to add, I keep trying to add this, but I can't seem to get a word in. But I do want to add that I couldn't say it better than you, Jax, about the security, how incredible it is. And I feel exactly the same way. I don't put a price on our children's safety. I was part of that advocating for armed guards many years ago. When we first started this, before I was on the board, before you were on the board, we were all here advocating, in the audience for safety. There's nothing quite like it, that response time, all of that. So I don't put a price on our children's safety. That is absolutely one of the most important things. They can't be educated if they're not safe. So, thank you, Jack. You worded it better than I could, but I absolutely agree with you.
Sorry. Is there a number 4? All right. Thank you. Can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.